Here we are presenting the top 10 craziest things that have happened on live television. Welcome to Eve Top 10. Let's take a look back at the 10 craziest things that have happened on live television. Before we continue, give this video one like, smash on the subscribe button, plus hit on the notification bell icon. Number 10. The 1989 San Francisco earthquake. Date, Oct. 17, 1989. The history of sports is filled with great live TV moments. This one manages to transcend athletics. During live coverage of the 1989 World Series between the San Francisco Giants and the Oakland Athletics, the broadcast was suddenly interrupted by one of the biggest earthquakes to ever hit the city. Seconds after the quake hit, the feed cut out, but not before Michaels was heard saying something in a panicked voice. TV screens then switched to a generic World Series graphic with the announcers attempting to explain the situation to a shocked public. All of this happened in real time. The World Series coverage became America's gateway for the first bits of information of one of the deadliest natural disasters in the country's history. Number 9. The Los Angeles riots. Date, April 29, May 4, 1992. After the acquittal of the 4 police officers charged in the assault on Rodney King, Los Angeles broke out into a massive race riot for 6 days as thousands took to the streets in violent fashion. Right when news of the riot surfaced, countless TV cameras were there to catch as much of the mayhem as possible. Most notable was the beating of motorist Reginald Denny, which was caught by live TV cameras at the time. This moment became a symbol of the violence that had taken the city hostage. Countless people around the country tuned in for 6 days. Think about that, as one of America's most prominent cities was thrown into virtual anarchy. In all, 53 people were killed and thousands more were injured. No matter how horrific the live coverage was, it barely scratched the surface of this uprising. Number 8. Live coverage of Hurricane Katrina. Date, August 28, 2005. This entry is a bit different from the others on the list. It's more about multiple networks covering multiple aspects of Hurricane Katrina. Although you'd be hard-pressed to find any live footage that came either during the storm or in its immediate aftermath that wasn't absolutely shocking. Americans never thought they would see one of their most recognizable cities reduced to a true disaster zone. And those early aerial shots after the storm helped the country come to terms with the scope of the event. Live footage of dead bodies, submerged buildings, and a shattered population littered networks for days. Plus, the Weather Channel literally braved the storm to bring us live coverage of Katrina as it happened, which brought the sheer terror and utter craziness of the storm into America's living rooms. Number 7. Live footage of the Columbine High School massacre. Date, April 20, 1999. The United States still deals with the ramifications of the Columbine High School massacre every day. 13 years later, while the shootings weren't captured on live TV, the evacuations and SWAT team reactions were. A stunned nation tuned in to see kids escaping the school out of windows as heavily armed policemen entered the building to take down any threat they felt still existed. The footage of a school under siege is a sight most people felt they would never see in this country. There was no shocking violence or gore to be seen, but we can't imagine anyone watching live without a lump in their throat. Number 6. Lee Harvey Oswald's assassination. Date, November 24, 1963. After the assassination of President John F. Kennedy rocked the nation to its core, the country was eager to finally lay eyes on the man who had taken down the Prince of Camelot. Just as news cameras were sending out live feeds of the alleged assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, being transferred from a Dallas police station to the county jail, he was approached by a mysterious man and shot in front of a nation of onlookers. Mass confusion followed as cameras scrambled to get a clear shot of the action. Later on, the world learned that the shooter was Jack Ruby, a local nightclub owner who was either an ardent patriot or a pawn in a devious conspiracy, depending on who you believe. Oswald's live on-air murder was unprecedented at the time, and it set the stage for a decade that would be littered with televised violence and bloodshed. Number 5. O.J. Simpson's low-speed car chase. Date, June 17, 1994. In a time before professional athletes were regulars on the nightly news for all the wrong reasons, former NFL running back O.J. Simpson made headlines after being accused of killing his ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend, Ronald Goldman. When Simpson failed to turn himself in, an all-points bulletin was issued for his arrest, as he was spotted driving his white Bronco in Orange County. The most memorable low-speed car chase in history began. Networks instantly began covering the chase live as the NFL Hall of Famer was bobbing and weaving his way through traffic like he used to do during his playing days. This all transpired during a time when shock TV was king, and millions were glued to what could have been a bloody, deadly situation. The time for voyeurism had arrived in America, and O.J. led the charge. Number 4. J. Simpson murder trial verdict. Date, October 3, 1995. We've seen high-profile cases, like the ones against Casey Anthony and Michael Jackson, try to come close to this one. But oh, J. Simpson's trial verdict, a shocking live still courtroom moment in American TV history. It was almost as if the world stopped in its tracks as it was read aloud that Simpson had been found not guilty of the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman in front of millions of people watching at home. Some estimates even claim that the verdict was watched by 91% of TV viewing audiences at the time, which is a nearly impossible feat. It seemed like a mistake at first. The prosecution's case was apparently open and shut, but somehow Johnny Cochran and his team were convincing enough to acquit Simpson of any wrongdoing. The whole trial split the country down the middle, seemingly by racial lines, and public outcry was at a fever pitch. Over a decade later, this verdict is still one of the most hotly debated of all time. Number 3. The explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger. Date, January 28, 1986. The launch of the Space Shuttle Challenger was one of the most high-profile missions in NASA's history, due in part to the fact that one of the astronauts on board was a civilian school teacher named Krista McAuliffe. It was supposed to be the dawn of space expeditions for the average person. 73 seconds into the flight, though, the shuttle broke apart and exploded in front of the public viewing at home. The images of the plume of smoke broke the hearts of a nation and has placed a black cloud over space exploration ever since. It was a crushing blow to the American psyche, which desperately wanted to hail the crew, especially McAuliffe, as heroes. This wasn't the only space shuttle disaster that the U.S. public has witnessed, but the personal attachment people felt towards McAuliffe made it even more painful. Number 2. Man walking on the moon. Date, July 20, 1969. It seemed like an impossibility for centuries. Then July 20, 1969. On that day, the world witnessed live footage of man walking on the moon. Astronaut Neil Armstrong forever etched his name in history when he uttered the famous phrase, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," for millions of people watching at home to hear. The live TV feed was watched by an estimate 600 million people worldwide. Suck on that, American Idol. The footage impact is heightened when put in the context of its time frame. Here our nation was, less than 100 years since the invention of the automobile and the airplane, and we managed to send a crew up to the moon solely to dick around. It's a feat of pure awe that has yet to be matched on live TV. Before we move on, just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Thank you. 1. United Airlines Flight 175 crashing into the World Trade Center. Date, September 11, 2001. It's the most shocking and tragic day in American history, and it all unfolded on live television. After reports began to come in of a plane striking the World Trade Center, most of the major news channels began a live feed of what was then considered to be a horrific accident. When cameras caught another plane hitting the South Tower on national television, it became apparent this was a highly orchestrated terrorist attack. The image of American Airlines Flight 175 slamming into the South Tower was more than enough to let the world know that it would never be the same. Like the Kennedy assassination 4 decades earlier, people everywhere remember where they were at that moment, and for most, this live footage is something they will never forget. Thanks for watching. Let us know which animal you find interesting and tell us the ones we miss. Maybe we will make a video about it. If you click the subscribe button and the bell icons, you will be notified when fantastic video just like this one comes out. We have a lot more that you will enjoy.